Welcome back to the Abide Project. My name is Pastor Lloyd Hemstreet.
And I am Reverend Wagenmaker.
And we're back once again with kind of a news and commentary that we have to give, keeping you updated on the ongoing work within our denomination as well as the Abide Project.
And we are a different camera actually today. In fact, we have these handy dandy kind of microphones now.
Yeah.
Super high tech almost. There's even a little light. It's not a laser, but it still lets us know. Hopefully everyone hears us really crystal clear. And on the screen, we're backwards, I guess, because it's kind of neat to look at this. It's backwards. So we are very talented in reading. We can read backwards and forwards. And we can think backwards and forwards too. So,
well,
yes.
We'll see about that, Tyler.
We will,
anyway,
yes.
We find ourselves today in East Grand Rapids. It is September 15th. And we have just left the meeting of Classis, Grand Rapids East, over at Plymouth Heights, CRC. We're a couple blocks away in a local park, taking advantage of the greenery there today.
It is a beautiful day today, too, by the way. So it's like mid-70s, perfect, just a very slight breeze, mostly sunny. It is beautiful out.
It is. So together today on September 15th, this is a day that was highlighted on the works and acts of Synod, because they, at Synod, went ahead and designated an In-Loco Committee to deal with Classis, Grand Rapids East, Neland Avenue, and all the situations going on with there. And they required or made the stipulation that that committee would meet with the Classis, which they were faithful in doing today. So
they were. In fact, they were given 5 different mandates from Synod, this In-Loco Committee, which, again, was all there in force.
And the whole committee was
has
there.
been, it sounds like, for this week. But this was again, a recap of their mandates from Synod. First was to meet with Neland Avenue and to oversee compliance. The second mandate was to meet with Classis Grand Rapids East and admonish the Classis to be faithful. The third was to then meet with the Classis today for their fall meeting, their autumn meeting, and to report. The fourth mandate was, if necessary, to work with 3 area Classis to call upon them if help is needed in this process of admonishment or reconciliation or communication. And the last mandate was to report back to Synod 2023 in June of the upcoming year.
And so the In-Loco Committee was there in force, everybody present today, and gave a report on what they've been involved in so far. And they are just sitting right about 1 month after being formed. It has been a very packed time for them. They haven't had a lot of time to process, and so they're taking that into consideration as they've gone about their actions. As Tyler mentioned, they have been here all week, and they met with Neland Avenue. The council there had opportunity to do so. They've met with pastors from Classis Grand Rapids East this week specifically, as well as with Neland Avenue. I think it sounded like a second different time, 4 or 5 hours or more just in meetings this week, and really stressing that they're coming in to listen. And they didn't come here to just repeat and parrot what Synod had said. Everybody is fully capable of reading what Synod said this summer. They didn't feel that was necessary, and I certainly agree with that. But they are seeking to be faithful to the charge that was given them by Synod. And so they saw the first part of that process is to go through a time of listening, understanding, speaking all these things out as best they can, and then they will continue on with this process from there. So,
because there were questions actually from a number of the delegates of Classis Grand Rapids East saying, what about that mandate where the second mandate where you're supposed to be admonishing us? Are we going to hear an admonishment from you? Because we haven't heard you admonish us. Is that forthcoming? And what will that look like? And so that's where, again, the committee said, we're here, we're meeting with you right now. We want to make sure that we listen well, we listen carefully, we hear you well. And in fact, that was one thing that was mentioned by the Classis, the chair of Classis, because some of them did sit in on that meeting with the In-Loco Committee and Neland Avenue, their
As
council
Neland
and
had
others.
requested.
And they used the language saying that they were listened to well, they were heard well. And again, one of the parting words that the chair of Classis Grand Rapids East said to this committee was that they appreciated their humble attitude that they had going into it, a willingness to listen and a willingness to try to understand where the Classis is coming from and why they have continued to make decisions that they have. So that was the interchange that we heard.
Right. And while at the same time, the In-Loco Committee was very determined that, hey, they are going to be faithful to the mission and the task that Synod gave them. And so it's not that, well, they've gone in a different way or gone rogue or anything like that. This is just the process that they're going through as they seek to be faithful to the mission as best they can.
Right. And the chair of the committee, Paul DeVries, Reverend DeVries, did mention that. He reiterated, he said, we will be faithful to the mandate that was given to us.
Right.
But we have this period of time to work with, to work into the faithfulness of it. And we're not in any rush at this point. Again, we want to be careful and we want to listen well. And even he said, even if we get to the point where the committee, the In-Loco Committee and the Classis don't agree, he said we still want it so at the tail end you could say that we did it in love, that we listened well, and then we're still striving for the unity of the church.
Absolutely.
And that was one of the things the chair, again, Reverend DeVries mentioned. He said, we desire for Classis Grand Rapids East to remain a part of the Christian Reformed Church. And so that's why we want to do this process well. Before eventually a recommendation is made to Synod, which
will be coming.
And in fact, it sounds like, again, the way reports work, they'll probably have a report early in the winter time, January, February, where that report will be submitted, and then Synod will then have to act on that.
So that's the next meeting of Classis Grand Rapids East, next regularly scheduled meeting. They could always call a special meeting, but certainly they're not going to do these things with CIT or any ad hoc committee of Classis. They were clear that Classis is going to make these decisions together. And so the next meeting would be January. And so there's a lot of work to continue to get done between now and January. And that's when they're going to have to come with their recommendations to the Classis. And then preparations for Synod start right there.
Speaking of work being done, you know who does really good work? Burnip's Equipment here does amazing work. And so again, for corporate sponsors,
you're still begging for sponsorships.
I'm still looking for that. I'm still angling for that nearby.
Well, leaving off Tyler's own personal angles that he's trying to work on for us here with the Abide Project, I would say there are, as I was coming and approaching this Classis meeting, there were three things that I had in mind that I thought, hey, what would be the message? I mean, we wanted to report on what took place and keep everybody informed. But there are three things that came to my mind, Tyler, as I said, hey, what do we need to call?
What are those three things?
Well, the
Lloyd,
three things,
please tell us.
The three things are, number one, prayer. The In-Loco Committee has a heavy load. There is a lot of work that they're doing. They've been placed in a challenging spot, and they recognize that and feel the weight of that. And so I would encourage all of us to continue to be in prayer for that In-Loco Committee in the midst of how they seek to listen well and to be faithful and keep love and truth together. And so we need to continue to be in prayer for them.
So prayer is one.
Yep, prayer for the In-Loco Committee is one. Then the second thing is prayer.
More prayer.
More prayer.
This is prayer heavy
This
here,
is
Lloyd.
prayer heavy. Prayer heavy, and that's for Classis Grand Rapids East. Talking about admonishment and looking into that, you know, they do not feel that they need to be admonished. They feel that they have acted faithfully in their ways that they have loved and cared for and served one another. And so that is what is being wrestled with. Synod had one determination and the Classis has a different. And so we need to pray for God's Spirit to work and that there would be resolution and that they would be on the same page, that we would all be of one mind as we follow after Christ. So the second thing is prayer.
Prayer. Third thing
is
this is not
prayer. No, not prayer. All right. Third thing is there's going to be more work to be done. Obviously, there's more work to be done. The In-Loco Committee continues to do work. And, you know, while Synod 2022, we're thankful for the heavy work that they did and to remain faithful, that is not going to be the end of the story. And so we are going to need to be faithful at Synod 2023 and beyond. And one of the ways that that is played out is in the delegates that make time in their schedule to go. It's a beautiful day. It'd be fun to maybe go and grab the family and run to a local campground or something like that. But in Michigan, I don't know about our states, in the state parks, they're all booked up. It takes 6 months in advance now to get into a lot of these campgrounds.
So
if you want to
can't go camping anyway.
That wasn't exactly the angle I was going to take, but there's still this idea, hey, Synod is going to be in June of next year. Those that are serving as office bearers need to look at their schedule and start thinking and praying about, hey, am I going to be able and available, if my classes should call me, to be willing to step up and serve in that way. And so, you know, it's 9 months away still. You got plenty of time, but maybe it's an item for prayer once again.
Prayer. So we did get prayer back there. We did get prayer
back there again. Yes. But we will need faithful delegates at Synod 2023. And in our local churches, we need to continue to seek to live out these truths and live out God's word as we live into the gospel. So that is the three things that I had. Tyler, do you have any final words?
I'll still keep angling for burnup, but otherwise I just would reiterate again exactly what you said. So, and that's just a good reminder to us in life and in ministry, and again, continuing to ask God's favor.
Absolutely.
Upon the Christian Reformed Church, which is his church.
It is his church. So with that note, we will go ahead and sign off from here in East Grand Rapids. No idea when we might show up again, but it's always a possibility, so be very afraid.